Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're taking a look at Gaming News Consolidated. This is June 1st through the 7th, and basically what I do is I take a look at videos, take a look at articles, and consolidate it all in one place for you. And boy, was this week busy. So we're going to get through much of it as we can. It's not probably, I'll be honest, it's not going to be as good of quality as it normally is. I'm just running out of time this week. But, life's good. And it's getting hot too. Make sure to buy your AC units ahead of time if you need to, because they are starting to fly off the shelves, and they are getting expensive too. So just be mindful of that. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the Unreal Showcase of 5.6. We're going to be updating you on some games like Black Myth, Wukong, Expedition 33, and NightReign. We're also going to be talking about Fortnite as well. We're also going to be going over some layoffs and some studio stuff. We're also going to be going over the state of play. Link down below if you wish to take a look at it. We're also going to be talking about the Switch 2 a lot and Mario World. And then we're going to talk about Mind's Eye, and we're going to also talk about some other stuff. But anyway, go ahead and like and sub, all that jazz if you enjoy the channel, want to share it, all that good stuff. And yeah, if I've earned it. But hey, yeah, let's go ahead and get right into the news. So Epic Games had their Unreal Engine Showcase 5.6, and it's actually now live, so devs can actually start using this. And the whole point with 5.6 is for it to be efficient rendering and lessening computer hardware demand. Excuse me, which is great because Unreal Engine, man, just having those hiccups, folks. Anyway, Unreal Engine, I'm really not a fan of a lot of the games that they're making on those. I just don't think the devs have enough time to actually optimize it. Unreal Engine 2 is also very demanding, it seems like, especially for console, but there's even issues with it on ray tracing compared to other engines. But Unreal Engine is becoming the de facto console to use just about for any type of game development now, and Epic Games is happy about it, right? Because they're the one making the money. And but we used to have Unity until they botched that one, and then we have some other studios like CD Projekt Red and Halo Studios that are dropping whatever engine they have and starting to use Unreal. And a part of it too is just keeping up with their own engine in-house while updating the devs on it, and it's just it's maybe not better for game development, but it's just easier to use someone else's engine that keeps it up to date on a regular basis. So, yeah, 5.6, big focus. During the showcase, they did showcase a tech demo, which was specifically catered using assets from Witcher 4. Now, the reason I put it that way is because it's not gameplay, okay? It's not the game. It is not the game. The devs haven't even had the ability to use 5.6 to build the game and with what they've put out and built so far before the game releases, and we're expecting like toward the end of 2026. So we're talking 18 months from now. So yeah, this is a tech demo. This is a completely separate thing. It's there to showcase what 5.6 can do. But yeah, the objective, they said, at least for consoles, is to actually do 60 frames per second with ray tracing. Now I did some more poking around. The tech demo was natively not at 4K, I guess. What we're seeing is just the aspect of it being at a lower resolution and then being upscaled to something else. And it did look really nice. So 5.6 may not entirely be raw computational power. They did say, too, it was also a base PlayStation 5. And yeah, it did look very good, but it may not be completely without some form of upscaling, because PlayStation 5 also has an upscaling as well. They just don't usually tell you that. It's FSR. And it's also not there for every game. So the whole layout and how they actually did this tech demo is not completely clear, but there's some information missing to indicate why it actually looks so good. But let's talk about what 5.6 actually does. They have nanite foliage, they have chaos physics for clothing, skin, and muscles, and also fluid. This is all for authentic physics in the game and for PC animations, which it does look really good. It is quite impressive. Also, seamless transitions from gameplay to cutscenes. At least that's the hope. Maybe there's still going to be a cutscene or two, or like a little frame or two, like Digital Foundry was saying, that is still going to be a little teeny blip that you may be able to pick up on it if you know what you're looking for, but better transitions. Also, MetaHuman 2.0, which is real-time character rendering, is going to be implemented as well into 5.6. And this is going to be pretty huge for like character models and skins and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to save a ton of time. And in some examples, they were able to save like 85-90% of the normal time it would take, which is massive. Like it's basically instant. So also two streaming assets and stuff that's going to be faster and improved. And then they also have a mobile game creation aspect that they're improving and making it easier and making it also more efficient. So, man, the showcase actually was pretty amazing. At least the day one showcase. Um, and so yeah, there's going to be a level of detail there that'll be great. And then too, there's still going to be that kind of dematerializing or derezzing aspects that are further away, but they're still going to look pretty good. And they did actually. They still actually looked pretty good. So all of these different points that they have are all about saving time for the devs and making rendering games more efficiently, making it more efficient to do so. And yeah, my complaint that I've had with Unreal Engine is feels like it's finally being addressed with 5.6. So 5.5 was all about lumen and lighting, which that certainly made it easier and faster to change things in real time. And then 5.6 is looking at making rendering foliage and clothing and chaos physics, all of this type of stuff. And yeah, that's awesome. But again, I want to iterate this. A lot of people are excited about The Witcher 4, the video game, because that's what they used to showcase it. And in my opinion, that was a really bad idea, because now people have this expectation of how it's going to run, what it's going to look like. They're not going to need like necessarily the next gen to get optimal performance or whatever. And again, this is just the tech demo. And so whatever they're showing through this tech demo, again, is not the real game. We shouldn't have our expectations too high. And again, it does look good, but again, the devs haven't had access to it until this week. And if there's going to be 18 weeks roughly until the game's released at the end of 26, which I think is the goal right now, they may not just have enough time to actually rework some of the stuff that they've built into the game, or not have enough time to actually do it. They might be able to do some aspects with clothing and with some of the NPCs and animation and some of that thing. If they're especially using Unreal Engine, which they are, might be able to tweak some of that. But again, they only have 18 months with this new patch to actually change and tweak stuff in the game. So just want to make that clear. And again, with what they've put out before, again, they have taken the time to fix their games. I'll give that credit to them. But they also put games out and have marketing material that is not congruent with the actual product and launch. And I think a lot of people are already forgetting what Cyberpunk, how that launched and how broken it was. They had 125 million roughly to actually take the time and money to fix their game. And then they also had about 50 million in refunds. And like, we forget that, right? So yeah, it's not perfect. They do a great job fixing their game, but I'm not overly excited yet until they prove to me as a company that they actually want to put it out well and at launch and all of that stuff. Because again, paying another 70 or maybe possibly now $80 game, it's just getting too expensive for what we're actually getting. So yeah, lower your expectations a little bit. I will link in the description the whole showcase itself of 5.6, at least that first day, and then it's easy enough to find too as well online. Let's talk about Black Myth Wukong. So they've grossed over $1 billion. $1 billion on their game. This is roughly like a $40 million project or something crazy, or 50. So yeah, they've definitely made their money back. And we found out too that Black Myth is now coming to Xbox. So it'll be launching on the actual release date for PlayStation and PC. This again will be August 20th. And there is also a pre-order discount of 20% if you're so inclined, from June to like mid-July. I don't know why they're doing it all the way through. Maybe they just want to see how many they're actually getting. Maybe it's partly to make physical copies. I don't know exactly, but it's not right up to launch like I think it should be. But yeah, if you actually want to and you want to pre-order it, basically now you're looking at $48 instead of $60, and that might be a pretty good price tag for some people. That actually might be great. And then the thing that's also interesting is that we have even more evidence now that maybe the Series S was not the problem. Now on this channel, I was sharing with what Science Institute was talking about, and sharing that they didn't have the ability to actually make a Series S version of the game, and but we might even see a Switch 2 version at this point, again, which is not really that much more powerful, or in some aspects even on par with the Series S, and in some aspects too, the Series S is actually better with some of the benchmarks that we've seen. So again, we're at this point where it's like, is it more difficult? Have studios struggled actually making a Series S version for their game? Yes, they have. Yes, they have. And the thing is, I think what Xbox should do is that when they release their dev kits for the next gen, they should release 2 kits per studio, per dev, whatever, however they do it, instead of just one. Because they released the dev kit for the Series X. And then the Series S came around. It's like, oh boy, yeah, this is a lot harder to actually build for. And I think Xbox should make it as easy as possible to bring games for their platform. So, yeah, this would be great. But yeah, the whole conspiracy with Black Myth is like Phil Spencer said they can't talk about other companies' deals that they have, which was interesting. Also, we got to see some of the reporters, actual journalists saying, like, yeah, it really looks like there is a deal. So it's still unconfirmed, but again, we're actually having the game on release day, August 20th from a year ago. And so, yeah, it's just, and again, we still don't know. They still won't come out and say anything. Science Institute won't say anything, and neither will PlayStation. And I wonder if Xbox will now, but maybe overly no one really cares. But yeah, Black Myth Wukong, if you did want to play it on your Series X or whatever, it is actually coming on the anniversary. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Expedition 33. So far, they've sold 3.3 million copies, roughly a budget of 45-50 mil, and they've grossed so far 165 million. So yeah, it's definitely a success for them, and I think we're going to continue to see this in the industry where games are going to be their smaller projects. They're going to be these cheaper price points. And again, you're still going to enjoy them. You're still going to play them. And some will be better than others, yes. But yeah, it's just incredibly interesting to see that these games are the ones that are successful, and the games that are, $250, $300 million just for the budget is kind of insane. And they're having trouble turning that over. I mean, just like Concord, for example, buying the studio for $200 million, and then game development to get it to be finished for another 200. So we're talking 400. That's crazy. That's not even looking at marketing or anything like that. And then also we're looking at Marathon right now with and Bungie. It's like $3.6 billion, and it's like we got Destiny 2 dying out, and they've keep changing their roadmap because it's not going over very well. And then the stuff that we're just hearing about Marathon, the game, and it's just a mess. It's like, man, it's not going to be the biggest nuclear explosion in gaming we're going to see. Just $3.6 billion for the studio, added on development costs and marketing after that. And, man. And then, yeah, we'll get into it as a state of play, but yeah, Marathon wasn't even showcased again. So, yeah, they have a problem. Excuse me. Let's talk about NightReign. So far, they've sold 3.5 million copies, grossed about $140 million. So, yeah, they're doing really good so far. And we do know of that we're getting duos in the game. Don't know when yet, but that is coming. They do know that people want that, and that's easy enough to patch in. So patch 1.01 was stability and balancing for the game. Patch 1.02 was improving solo mode and maybe a few other tweaks and stuff. And it's basically you earning more per kill while you're in the game. So that helps you level up faster. But again, they're not really, as far as I could tell, they're not scaling back the bosses or anything like that. They all feel the same. So I'm still getting screwed out there. It's pretty fun. But yeah, it is really nice they're adding duos pretty soon. because having to wait for a third now at this point is just crazy. Lion and I tried it last Sunday. We waited 11 minutes, never got anybody. I tried even just doing solos then on Tuesday night. Again, didn't get anybody. I think it was like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And then I tried Wednesday night last week for an hour, roughly 10 minutes per boss after the initial one in the game. So 10 minutes at 6 bosses was 60 minutes, an hour, and it was awful. I didn't get a single person. Now on let's see, would have been on Friday, late afternoon Pacific time. I was able to get into some matches in a few minutes, which was so nice. But again, we still have this issue. We still have this problem to where it's like, we're not actually having enough people play in the game at certain times. So yeah, maybe for Xbox, until we get duos, maybe it'll just be easier to just play on the weekends, Friday night, Saturday night, maybe part of Sunday night, or during the day on the weekend. But yeah, having to wait for 10 plus minutes, it's insane. So luckily that is coming. Some too are saying that they're waiting for a third person with them and their buddy, and they're waiting, 20 to 30 minutes, which is nuts. And when we first started playing, at least on Xbox, getting 3 randoms took a minute or less. And so now we're adding time to that even on the weekend. So yeah, people are finishing, people are tapping out. You're also splitting the player base between 6 bosses, and there is no cross-platform, which I'm not sure if we're even going to get that, which would be really disappointing. But yeah, I don't know, we'll have to see what they do. So at least they have duos coming. That will help mitigate the issue. But yeah, people are struggling getting into matches, and they're just starting to share that in the game. So yeah, the game has the potential. It's fun. But again, we still don't have voice chat either. We still can't communicate. I even had a mission where it's like, hey, come on, guys. Like, I really want to go over here, and because I have a side quest. And again, they were just fighting it like crazy. And then the other aspect is like, I actually lost connection from a game. We're starting to have our heat wave, quote, unquote, heat wave over here for us. And so we had a power blip of like a third, half a second, shut off everything, came back on. I lost connection to the game, right? So I was able to hop back on, which was great. But then I also lost a level, which sucked. And then the other player, when they saw that I left, they left too. They just completely quit. So when I came back into the game, there was just one of them left. And we actually got through the first boss, which was cool. But again, the game is still scaled for 3. And I don't think there's matchmaking to actually bring in another player. So players are already figuring out, too, that it's like, look, I don't want to waste my time. I'm not really going to get a lot for this. We're not going to get very far. Because if a player taps out either by connection or by wishing to leave on purpose, then that's it. And it's like you kind of have a dead session and you're wasting your time. Because you don't know if that other person is coming back or if they lost connection. So it was nice to see that one of them was still hanging around, and it felt good to team up, but still, it sucked. Because it's like we had that one member drop, and then there was no way we were actually even going to get close to the final boss. So that was the end of that. So in my opinion, yeah, I'm still going to continue to play. I'll have a final review probably toward the end of this month. And just giving my final thoughts and stuff. But yeah, it is frustrating because it's like you're fighting the game design, you're fighting your team, and there's resistance there and conflict instead of just actually playing the game and having resistance with how it's supposed to be played and what we're supposed to struggle with. It is just kind of frustrating. Hopefully they can actually fix some of this. With Duskbloods, because that's supposed to be a multiplayer game too, coming in 2026 for Nintendo. Let's go ahead and talk about Fortnite. So we're at the lowest player count in the last 2 years, and it's still trending down. Now, this is kind of insane. So yeah, there are some dips and stuff. There are times where it kind of lower, we get something really big, right? Some kind of a season people enjoy and they hop on and they play. Like I remember when the original OG map actually came out. But yeah, there was a dip of about roughly 1.3 million in 2023. But like the baseline stayed around 1.6, 1.9. right? That was pretty normal in 23. In 24, we also had some spikes with player counts and in a pretty high average at roughly 2 million for good parts of the year. And the spikes were 10 million and 14 million, again, with releasing some of those other modes and some of those maps. And then now we take a look, and there's actually been a steady drop-off since December of 2024. Right now we have the Star Wars event, and the average player base is still dropping off every week. And we've gone from 1.8 million players to 0.8 to 800,000. So yeah, this is kind of crazy, and it's still trending down. It doesn't look like anytime soon it's going to actually level off and cap out. But it's like we have summer, we're out of school, we're out doing stuff, or there's other games that are wanting to be played. Excuse me. And two, I don't think Star Wars has the same pull. I mean, with really anybody anymore because of with what Disney's done with it. So congratulations, Disney. Spent multiple $billion on an IP that you totally rammed into the ground because you wanted to redo everything. And yeah, you just alienated your player base, and I don't think a lot of them are coming back. Pretty much myself included. I'll be curious, but again, when you're Fortnite and you're trying to bring people in with Star Wars, and maybe some of the stuff too is kind of cool, but Fortnite 2, it's not a novelty anymore. There's other games out there. There's people that have played it and done the time. Because, yeah, I played it a lot that first couple of years, and it was fun for what it was, But now I want to play other stuff. I want to focus on something else. And so here we are with just issues, unfortunately, of actually maintaining the player base. And while 800,000 for players is still great, just the smaller you have, the less you're selling overall. And especially, too, if you have IPs that don't work for you, again, they're not going to be buying the skins and stuff. So, yeah, what are they going to do? Because we look at what they've built already with game modes. Like, they have a first-person shooter. They have Lego stuff. They have, like, sim life building kind of thing. And they have all sorts of different modes for, like, with building and without building and with different team sizes. And it's like, what else can they do now? Like, they're kind of running out of ideas. And so I think through the rest of this decade, we'll actually kind of, if any of us care, we'll kind of see Fortnite just kind of disappear and fade into the existence of the ether. And we'll see what Epic does after that. I mean, are they going to try some other banger? It's just like, right now, these types of multiplayer style game, Battle Royales, like, they had their time in the sun. And now they got to come up with something else. So, yeah, we'll see what Epic does. They're definitely going to make money on that Unreal Engine. Maybe they can lean on that, but yeah, we'll see what happens. People Can Fly, the studio, is having layoffs, according to Insider Gaming. So this is roughly 100 employees. Project Gemini and Bifrost are suspended/canceled. And this is also the third game in a year that they're actually canceling or suspending. They also had a second round of layoffs. They've had 2 rounds of layoffs now in the last 6 months. So roughly 5-6 months ago, we had some layoffs, and now they're having layoffs again. People Can Fly is also co-developing Gears of War E-Day. So are they still working on that? Would the layoffs be worse if they didn't have that project? Probably. So yeah, these layoffs, they said in a statement, are due to not securing funding, end quote. So that's not great. So it's like, are they actually starting some of these projects without having the funding in hand? And then we've seen, too, even with like NetEase and some other publishers, is that they're actually pulling funding from projects while it's been secured in the first place. So it's kind of a mess. Like, this is not really necessarily what we want to see. It's not looking good for the studio. Also got to see Playtonics. An indie studio is also having layoffs, though we don't know how many. And then on the 5th, I just took a quick peek at the tracker on Obsidian, but there's more studios also having layoffs. There's 3 more that were added. And so, yeah, we're just not done with layoffs. Like, it's just going to be a continued thing. I think it's lost its fervor. People don't really care that much anymore. It's just something that's normal. But yeah, it's never normal to just lose your job. Like, that is just life altering and shakes you to your core. So it sucks. We also had Etc. Studio. They're also having layoffs as well. But again, we don't necessarily know how many. So we got some more layoffs, this week and last week. And yeah, I feel for those folks, regardless of their ideology or anything else or beliefs. It's horrible to just one day life's normal, you're bringing in money, you can afford life, and then now you're on the unemployment line. Like that does not feel good for anyone that's experienced it. Let's talk about the state of play this week. Let me get some water. So yeah, let's talk about the state of play this week. It was fairly good. Okay, it was okay. Kind of looking at like a C minus. So like a strong 6, week 7, somewhere in there. But they did showcase 23 games. There also was less focus on VR, which was nice. And 12 of the games are actually coming to Xbox. So if you wish to actually see kind of my breakdown and my thoughts at the end, there's a link in the description down below. Lots of Japanese games, lots of smaller games as well, and many third party. Like there was not a lot actually coming from Sony. Again, the last state of play that we had was just Borderlands 4. So it was nice. They're kind of coming back to form. They're actually showcasing some games. We got to see some games too that we hadn't seen before. But we did get to see like Pragmata, which is coming in 2026. We also got to see Silent Hill F finally, which is coming at the end of 2025. Mortal Kombat Collection, which is coming in also 2025. Neo 3 in 26. And then 007 First Light also in 26. And Marvel Token in 26. So yeah, a lot of games are actually coming in 26, nothing this year. And there was kind of an area to a patch of games that didn't look really that overly exciting coming in September and October of this year. And also, Ghost of Yotei is coming October 2nd, I believe. So there's going to be a big patch right there just in time for the holidays for sales and stuff to try to capture. But I wonder what they're going to do for the next day to play. Like, are they still going to do another one in September, October-ish? Because, yeah, they already didn't show anything with the last state of play. It's just Borderlands 4. This state of play was actually some games we hadn't seen before. But again, they're also like not showing any Wolverine. They're not showing any fair games. They're not showing, or fair game now. And they're not showing any Marathon or any of their other projects like Project Gummy Bears. So, yeah, what else are they going to be showing? In my opinion, it's just going to be more third party, and maybe they don't even do one. Maybe they do another deep dive like with Borderlands 4. That would be interesting. But yeah, if you want to watch the whole thing or watch my thoughts on it, links are down in the description. All right, let's talk about the Switch 2. Dude. We're going to be talking a lot about the Switch 2. So it launched. Let's talk about it. The packaging, pretty basic. Some are finding damage on their screens because people are stapling stuff to the top of the box. And the screen is facing up in the packaging. So the staple is going through the cardboard, through the little piece of plastic, which is nothing, and actually getting to the screen. So there's nothing actually protecting that. And yeah, we saw multiple like screenshots or video shorts of this of people showing the damage and the frustration. And it's just like, GameStop employees were stapling the freaking receipt to the box. It's like, just tape it. Just tape it or something, like on the side or underneath, like nobody. Yeah. Again, kids working at a store. I was there too at one point, but yeah, what are you going to do? It's just the inexperience. So that sucks, regardless of how we feel about the Switch 2. Brand new thing, and now it's damaged before you can even open the box. That's horrible. So, but yeah, so far, we're finding out that it's a very hefty unit. It actually has some nice plastics besides the little kickstand in the back. That's maybe slightly improved a little bit. Magnets for the Joy-Cons are actually really nice. Again, they're electromagnets, so they're actually pulling from the battery when they're connected. There's also rubber around the joystick. Actually feels pretty good. But, boy, we got to talk about this because we got to talk about these Joy-Cons because iFixit just did a tear down of the controllers. Remember, these are $95, and they're like, yeah, they're the same. Like, they are the same joystick module that we've already had in previous units or across various consoles and controllers. And, yeah, this is the same. Like, this is not any different. So we're still going to have stick drift issues. The whole point with that rubber sleeve on the outside that's blue and orange is to help mitigate how fast the joystick is actually moving. And that's part of the quote drift resistance-ness of the Joy-Con. And this really sucks because it's like we're just, again, I put out a video about this, and the reason I put it out is because I was also concerned. But yeah, here we are. We have iFixit, a well-known do-it-yourself company, and it's just like, it's a mess. Like, it sucks, and we're just not really having that change. So, yeah, and then too, they Nintendo changed the EULA, the user agreement, so that now you can't actually sue them unless within 30 days, basically from launch for some of these people, you actually send them a letter and opt out yourself. So again, this whole thing is just a mess. Like, Nintendo is not being user friendly whatsoever, and I just want to get that out there. Honestly, looking at games on the LCD screen, it looks really good. I got to see Mario Kart and Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk actually held up pretty well. Better frames than expected, and maybe even some better frames better than expected than the Steam Deck while driving. And this is even a resolution increase from 720p to 1080p. And a little bit of stutter, but actually pretty stable, pretty consistent for the frame rate and for the gameplay. And this is the work of DLSS for the Switch 2. Also, the mouse feature feels a little thin to most, but it works well for what it is for most people so far. But yeah, people don't really like how it feels. It's too tall, and it kind of cramps your hand a little bit while you're trying to grip on, and so it's not something you're going to use a ton of. But it does, at least according to most, it does actually work pretty well out of the box. Battery life, let's talk about that. This is actually a really big concern for a lot of people lately. We're finding on Reddit and also a few review videos so far that roughly the battery life is 1 to 2 minutes of play with to 1% of battery. So if you have 100% of your battery, you're roughly going to get, this is crazy. You're roughly going to get 100 to 200 minutes of gameplay, and so yeah, you're barely kind of getting over that 3-hour mark in some aspects, and yeah, that's not great. And we got to see too with the Switch is that they're like 2 hours to 6.5, and we covered that too. And they did their reveal thing. We covered this too in another video. It's like, wow, 2 hours. That's like really short. That's really short. And then some people, they're not even getting 2 hours out of it. So of course it depends on what you're playing, how you're using it. Most, of course, right now are playing Mario Kart World because they don't have any other games, at least first party. They have plenty of third party, but again, are you willing to spend the cash for a license to download the game later? But yeah, it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks. Some other aspect too with the battery life is that it seems kind of slow to charge. So like This Is It, the channel, said that roughly they had it plugged in for 30 to 45 minutes and they only got 10% additional battery while it's downloading. So it's not even playing a game, it's just downloading, and it only got an extra 10%. So this is another aspect where it's like, we have another Wii U gamepad situation where, you're just going to be jacked in trying to actually play, and you're not really going to be going anywhere. And battery life is huge, and this is still something that really hasn't been fixed. And maybe the technology isn't there. Maybe the technology is just too expensive. But yeah, this is really frustrating because it's like, so here we have the Joy-Con issues with basically the same joystick modules, so they're going to get stick drift anyway, okay, just like everybody else, and all other previous versions. And now we have a gamepad issue where people are going to be, ultimately focusing on just having to stay plugged in all the time. And yeah, that's horrible. That's horrible. Maybe it's possible there's an actual patch that they could do to make it a little bit better. Also, brand new batteries kind of need to be drained and recharged to get full usage out of it. That could improve it a little bit. But then there's the other side of that too. Over long-term use, like a year, a couple of years, you actually lose battery capacity over time, and you generally lose anywhere from 15 to 20%. And depending on how long you've been using the battery. So like, people are not going to be excited about this. that they can't even get 2 hours of gameplay after like 2 or 3 years out of their thing. So yeah, they're going to have to stay jacked in. Yeah, and then are there any third parties, or is Nintendo actually doing any battery improvements? There's no way to like, slap it out like a battery for a laptop. So I don't think there's any way to make it bigger. Maybe you could make it more efficient. But yeah, so they're going to actually improve this with the OLED model when they put that out in another 2 or 3 years. I don't know. Like, that really sucks. So you're basically going to be kind of stuck, docked, or jacked into to an outlet. So yeah, that's a real concern. Also, the mark of $80 games for some of their stuff, like Mario Kart World. $90 games for a physical copy for some of it. It's just expensive. And then we have the Joy-Cons, $95 with guaranteed freaking stick drift, baby. Like, yeah, this is really going to tick some people off pretty quick. Then we also have the game card situation versus key cards. Again, having to just have the license to download the game anyway, so you don't actually own the game files. And then the Switch 2 editions, some of them are $80, and some of the upgrades are an additional $10 or $20 just for those, which is just 4K visuals and ray tracing. That's basically what you're paying for. And the nice thing is that the Switch 1, it does look like you can just plug into your cartridge and play right away, which is wonderful. But again, even to do that, people were reporting that they needed to have the day one patch from Nintendo to just actually use their console, which, yeah, that's ridiculous. And then, too, there was also someone, I think it was News Game Wave. Anyway, I forget. But they were actually able to test the MIG switch. And yeah, the MIG switch does not brick your console, but it doesn't work. So, there's that. Also, yeah, they're paywalling game chat. Backwards compatibility is also paywalled, at least for older stuff than just previous generation. And then some of the Switch 2 editions are free with Nintendo Switch Online, which is nice until you quit paying for it. Then you don't actually have those anymore. So yeah, realistically, it's not $450. And there are also some Switch 2 available in some areas. I checked all of my stores. Target, Fred Meyer, and Walmart, they were all out. But the thing that was interesting when I went to GameStop, they said that roughly about a third of the people aren't picking up their pre-orders. So maybe the news is actually getting out there about some of this stuff, and they're choosing to just not pick it up. Or I've seen, too, some people in the comments are like, yep, I canceled it after some of this change. Like, it doesn't feel like Nintendo at all. And some of the people, too, are like, yeah, there's not enough cozy games. Or they haven't even announced any. Like, I'll just wait and see if I want one later. And then, too, the thing is that the storage isn't going to be big enough, especially for a lot of third-party games. So if you have Cyberpunk, Yakuza, and Split Fiction, that together with file sizes is 186 gigs out of 256. Now, you don't get to the full 256 because, you still have to have the operating system on there. But yeah, this is kind of insane. Like 3 games, over 150 gigabytes of storage. Like, you're just sucking up your... It's nuts. Now, there are some other games that are, of course, smaller. So we have Hogwarts Legacy at 15 gigabytes. We also have Mario Kart at 23 gigabytes and Donkey Kong Bonanza at 10. So there are some smaller games out there. But boy, some games, man, they're going to be huge. So you're definitely going to want an Express card if you can grab one or find one. And those are getting hard to find, too. Looks like there are some terabyte versions. So I would strongly suggest getting one of those. Yeah, especially if you're thinking of investing in the system. That'd just be a good idea. But again, those are roughly $80 anyway, depending on what size you're buying. So, yeah, it's just more money, man. Like, $450 is not the cost of the console. And then, too, if you're having stick drift with those Joy-Cons, $95, boy, that's going to go quick. Or if you want to play with a second player or whatever. And it's like this, they've designed it all this way on purpose, folks. So yeah, it's your money. Do what you want with it. I'm just giving you the information. But for me personally, I don't want to support this. Like, this is worse than Xbox. This is worse than PlayStation. Um, and just the restrictiveness of being able to hold the company accountable, how they're releasing stuff, how they've set things up, because they've had years to do this. It almost kind of feels rushed, honestly. And then we still have the stick drift issue, which will be showing up probably within a few months. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I would still rather pay for a nicer console that's $600 or $700 than something that I'm just going to play a few games on. That's just my 2 cents. Also, this was interesting. Um, some are calling it the Switch One Pro. Like, it's better, it's improved, but it's not really anything better than expectations. Um, it's also just kind of a overview. There's some channels that have done a pretty good job actually streaming it at launch. And oh yeah, I wanted to say this too. Don't forget that you have the 30 days to opt out of not being able to be a part of class action lawsuits for Nintendo once you accept the EULA. So yeah, you have 30 days for that. A few things too that I thought was interesting is that the Mii's are genderless now, so that's great. I'm glad we're catering to the emotions of such a small portion of the population. That's great. And then to 100% the welcome tour, which is $10 by the way. You and like Lion even sent me this. I had a couple of people send me some stuff, but yeah, you got to buy another set of Joy-Cons at $95. And then there's even including a 4K TV in there and the camera, and which is 55 and so on. So it's like, it's expensive. And then some people are also doing like data transfers over to the Switch 2, and they're losing it all. Like literally everything gone. Like this is such a mess. Can I just be frank, folks? I mean, my prediction already is that they were maybe during the full lifetime, they're going to sell 100 million Switch 2s, which is about 33% less than what they sold for the Switch 1. But boy, if Nintendo is not careful, we could have another Wii U situation where it's like we sell 30 million consoles, we sell 50 million consoles. Like this may not actually sell well at all. And like the Switch 2s, they're available. They're not completely sold out. And this was my prediction, was like we're going to see the initial flush and selling out of basically a lot of consoles, which isn't entirely accurate in some areas in the United States. I can't vouch for anywhere else. But yeah, we're going to see the initial push, and then after a couple of months or a few months, before the holidays, we're not really going to see sales. I think they're going to drop off a cliff. And I even think that more now with the stuff that we're seeing. And yeah, the word's going to get out there. Some people have been cautious. They're going to want to wait, and they're going to feel good that they waited, some of them, because of all of the stuff that we're seeing. And it's just horrible. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about Mario Kart World. Kind of a letdown. So let's go ahead and chat about this. So I watched someone stream 2 hours and 40 minutes to just watch the credits roll. Like, what? Less than 3 hours for an $80 game? That's kind of nuts. Again, I know it's Mario Kart. Okay, I know it's a different type of game, but I'm tired of just giving Nintendo a pass because they're Nintendo. Okay, they're choosing to make their games. They're choosing to raise their prices. They're choosing to add 4K and ray tracing with a crappy battery life for their handheld / console, using DLSS to actually be able to run third-party games. They can't even run it natively. And here we have a game that, their launch game, the only launch game you can beat in less than 3 hours. And watch those credits, baby. Like, that's insane. So, again, the ray tracing is nice. The 1080p handheld and 4K for the TV is nice. The game is fun. There's no issue there. The tracks are good. The music is great. Bowser Castle and Rainbow Road actually look like they're my favorite. They're actually pretty well designed and they're fun to play. We also have 50 characters that you can unlock while you play, and also 40 vehicles and their skins too. Not for everybody, but a lot of the characters actually have skins as well. And I feel like this is designed to be the grind of the game to keep you playing. It's the characters, it's the vehicles, it's the skins. That's what's going to keep you playing. The vehicles are 600 coins apiece. Some of them you can unlock while you're playing, which is great. But yeah, 600 coins apiece. So it's like, yep, you're just going to race around, collect money, and unlock different stuff in the game. And it's kind of turning into everything else. And I think people are going to see it as a grind fest. And two, if you don't have really people to play with, or you don't have NSO, Nintendo Switch Online, then yeah, it's like you're going to play this maybe 10 hours. Some people, too, are really enjoying their free roam mode. Some people really aren't. They really see it as empty. And again, this is just kind of crazy. Linking the tracks together for the Grand Prix is adding something new. It's adding some diversity. Some people are actually really enjoying that. There's also different paths to take to get to each track. So again, there's some kind of level of exploration there. But like taking a look at what's available, we only have the 50cc, the 100cc, and the 150cc. Is the other stuff going to be added later? Is there some other way to unlock it? I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. We actually only have 3 levels of engine. So yeah, it is cool. There's more ways to travel. There's also more items in the game. And there's also more to race against. Again, you can have up to like 24 racers, which is crazy. But yeah, the roam mode, some really enjoy. Some of them really like the exploration. Just kind of chilling, just kind of driving around. There are a variety of tasks so far and things to do. Like there's a boat you can unlock. There's time trials. There's other races. You can collect those coins. You can unlock skins while you're driving around. So there is a layer to that, but I think that's going to wear out actually fairly quickly because there is no open world game that just gets repetitive after a while. It doesn't exist. There is no perfect open world out there except for maybe New Vegas and Skyrim. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see this. There are a few other modes, yet from what I've been seeing so far, most people feel like it would be nice if there would actually be some more added to the game. But hey, don't worry. I'm sure this is going to be just like Mario Kart 8. I think the game is going to be created as a service and treated as such. So you're going to have new characters added. You're going to have new modes added. There's going to be DLCs later. And probably most are expecting that. But again, it's like $80 for a game that feels fine. That feels okay. Is that okay? $80. And then again, when I've asked some people and looked at comments, it's like, or videos, it's like, well, I bought it for 50, right? Because I got the bundle. Or like, you should go out and get the bundle because, yeah, you're going to save some money. But asking people directly, do you feel it's worth $80? They are avoiding the question, which tells me no, it's not. It's not worth $80. Like, it's still fun, it's still good, but not at that price point. So yeah, this is just really interesting. And I gotta say too, specifically the guy that I watched for 2 hours and 40 minutes, he was disappointed. Like he was really trying not to show it, but like he was disappointed at the end. He's like, yeah, it kind of feels empty. I beat it already. I'm seeing the credits after 3 hours, and it's $80 for the game. And again, some of the tracks are cool. The game is still fun. It's nice to be able to travel between tracks, and that can add some variety there. And then the free roam, that's kind of fun too. But again, I just feel like the whole thing with the Switch 2 is Nintendo is trying to catch up with what the current gens are already doing. And in 3 years, we're already going to be getting the next gens. So like Nintendo's got to sell stuff now before the next gens actually show up. And then, too, as people are switching over to PC, they're probably not getting a Switch. Again, their money is going somewhere else. Yeah, so I really think Nintendo has a problem. Because this is just how it's going. You got the stick drift problem that's going to be cropping up, according to iFixit. You have the battery issues that people are already complaining about. It's an improved Switch 2, whoop-de-doo, for 50% more cost. And you have the whole thing with physical copies as well. A lot of the third-party stuff is just going to be a license. As far as we know, all of the first-party are all going to have the game files on the cartridge. That's going to be nice. And then all Switch 1 games, or at least well over the majority, 95% plus, are just going to be drop in and play, which is great too. But yeah, this is just a different type of. This is just a different Nintendo. And man, it really shows that gaming has changed. So let's talk about Mind's Eye. Boy, they got a bad omen because the chief of legal and the chief financial officer, they have both walked away from Build a Rocket Boy Studios. So chief legal posted on LinkedIn, and then chief financial was confirmed through other employees that, yeah, he's left. So that doesn't bode very well. Because again, if something is going to do well, if something is going to perform well, you're probably not leaving the company, right? It's when it's not going to do well, and you can see that coming, that people leave. And we've seen that before. Currently, Mind's Eye is launched for the 10th, so very, very soon, literally just like a couple days. And then we also had the co-CEO say that previewers are being paid off by the competition. And this is ridiculous because this is Rocket Boy's game. They gave the previews, and people are sharing their opinions. And now they're saying, yeah, they're being paid off. Like, that's just not a good look at all. The marketing, too, for the game was very off and weird and also late. Again, we haven't seen very much. I don't think they have a ton of money left. Also, there's been some false reviews already in the store, over 40. Maybe it's 50 now, I don't know. And of folks technically pre-ordering, and they're able to give a score. And so right now it's a 4.7 out of 5, last I saw. And so I'm sure it's going to be a heck of a lot worse than that when the game actually comes out. Yeah, it's not even out yet. I wish that wasn't even possible. Like, pre-ordering the game should not allow you to actually write a review. Like, they should kibosh it, after I don't know, after 3 hours, let you write a review then. Something like that. That'd be great. There are also more red flags that are basically going by every day. I mean, there's people that have worked there and they're posting to Glassdoor reviews on the company, which are really not going good. And then previewers were also saying, too, that, like, there needed to be a God mode in order for people to be able to, like, the previewers to actually get past a couple of parts in the game. And then looking at Cyberboy, his channel, he's been keeping up with Mind's Eye pretty well. And he's saying that some copies were actually leaked early in Germany. And so these people are playing it and they're getting their hands on it and they're like, wow, this is broke. And it's been so, but then that's also without the day one patch. And the company has been saying, yes, it's better with the day one patch. Well, the company actually released it. So now we have the day one patch. Yes, it does technically, according to some people that have now played it with the day one patch, yes, it does technically fix some of those issues, but it's still a game that's not ready for launch. And I guess, too, according to Cyberboy, we're hearing that some of the employees within the company are confirming that, yes, they have to push this out per the contract from their investors, and the investors are not willing to wait anymore. So they want to get the process moving forward of figuring out how they're going to get their money back. And this sucks because, I mean, it's got to be hard starting out, making your first big game. And this does seem pretty ambitious. I was excited for it, but again, it's like, if it's not ready, I don't want to pay $60 for a broken game. Like, again, this is a industry. This is about business. This is not friends. This is not charity. Okay, this is about creating a product and having it do well in a competitive market. When you have a monopoly, it doesn't matter, right? Because you can't have competition. But yeah, this is why we want competition, is that we want good products. Because we don't want to get screwed, right? We don't want to have a Mario Kart World for $80. Which actually looks like we're getting another video or another game, like, by the way. I should add that toward the end here. I think I will. But yeah, it's just crazy to me that everything that Rocket Boy has been doing as a studio just feels like it's been going the wrong way. So they've had financial officers leave. They're saying that the previewers of the game that they showed, that they're being paid off by competition, which is ridiculous. And then the previewers can't have an opinion. Um, and then yeah, we have the leak in Germany. The day one patch was released, and this this is bad. So yeah, it's basically not ready for launch. So if you've been excited, maybe just hold off. Maybe just cancel your pre-order. And unless, I mean, it's your money, you can do what you want with it. But yeah, if it's a little expensive to have a bad game, maybe just wait. So, but some Twitch streams, we've actually been able to see some Twitch streams on this. They've actually been taken down, and accounts have also been suspended from leaking the game. So, but yeah, that's how Mind's Eye is going. It's turning into a bonfire already, and it's not even release date. And that sucks. Just a quick few things. XDefiant servers are officially off now, and that's sad. Like, yeah. I mean, there was some good devs and leadership there. Also, Twitch is having a class action lawsuit against them for not following their own terms of service. So the lawsuit is that they have a double standard. Multiple streamers are involved, I guess, since it's class action. And this is actually being brought up in California, and they have something called a Yelp law. And this is basically to stop businesses from restricting speech about the company that are doing customers wrong, right? So we'll see what happens with this. We'll see how this actually goes forward. But yeah, it's quite interesting because Twitch already has not made money as a service. Even just doing this now, this is costing them way more than what I'm ever going to help them make. But Amazon keeps putting it out, but I wonder how long they can do it, And when they don't, I'll eventually probably have to buy some sort of a service to actually be able to continue to stream so I can get my files, so I can get them over to YouTube. But so far, I'm doing it all for free, which is great. But yeah, we just got another circumstance where it's not good news for Twitch. And this all started with Hassan. A lot of it. And it's just continued perpetuation. And I don't think it really matters what the terms of service are, but it's that the terms of service are consistent across all users. I remember too when Twitch was like, yeah, basically show whatever you want. And boy, they changed that really quick because of all the all of the inappropriate content for free on the service. So yeah, it was not a good look. And I imagine too, like whatever Twitch has had with all of these controversies. Again, if they were just consistent, it wouldn't be a problem. But I'm sure investors are still continuing to pull out. There's less ads. There's less revenue coming in for that. And again, it's like, well, it's your platform. Like, make it better. Honestly, make it better. Incentivize more people to actually come in and try to advertise on your platform. So they're struggling with that. Let's also talk about Summer Game Fest a little bit. Overall, it's a C+. Link it down in the description below if you'd like to actually watch it yourself. But yeah, it's roughly 2 hours, and there's a lot of like smaller titles in there. And the ultimate thing that was interesting is I think we have competition now between showcases. So watching State of Play, watching Summer Game Fest, well, there wasn't any Sony games in Summer Game Fest. There wasn't any Xbox or Ubisoft either. And it was weird. Like, this was really weird. There also wasn't any EA games that I could pick out. So again, no Battlefield, no Next Football Club, no Next Madden and NFL, none of that. So it's like, what's going on? And so Jeff Keighley, he's got a 2-hour show that he's got to fill, so then he's filling it with these smaller projects. And again, nothing against smaller projects. We're just talking about the biggest showcase. Like, where is the big AAA banger stuff? And it just kind of wasn't there. It was really weird. It was really weird. So, yeah, overall, there were some games that looked interesting. The biggest one was at the very end. I'll say this. The crowd was most excited at the very beginning and at the very end. The very beginning was a Dark Souls-like game that was Mortal Shell 2. So that's cool. That's exciting. And then the very end was Resident Evil 9 Requiem. People were super stoked for that. But that was the showcase. Like, again, there were a few things in the middle that was kind of nice. We also didn't have a lot of ads either. A lot of it was just, very quick, straight to the next trailer type of thing. We had some creators come out, or some devs or heads of studios talk about their games on stage, which was fine. I really don't care about that much. But the showcase itself went along pretty well. So yeah, it was a C plus. Like it was fairly good, but there wasn't like anything woohoo except for at the very beginning and at the very end. So you're probably not missing too much. But yeah, again, if you're interested, I have a video with the games and my thoughts down below if you're interested in watching. So anyway, with that, folks, hopefully you guys are doing well, and we'll see you guys on the next one.